at the Project Ink stage. Hello, guys. Right, am I quiet? Oh, maybe I need to stand a little bit back for you. So we have a bit of a show to show you today. We have a lot to sort of cover, so we're kind of going to try and speed run a presentation for you. So obviously, for those of you who are in the Project Ink world, who are from the Argus community, you're here for a very special announcement. So you're here for our 1.6 release date. We have 2 trailers to go over that. And we're here for the booth. So we have that. But first of all, we'd just like to thank the Project community team for inviting us to the stage and giving us the chance to use their stage to show off everything to you. So yeah, I might not be standing where the boost microphone is. I'm not sure. So we'd like to just thank Wolfie Weeps and their team for putting this community on and this show. It's amazing. So thank you, Wolfie. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, we've been here.
Oh, it's all around the whole site. Okay, so I should be boosted, guys. Apparently, as long as I don't go past the white line, you should all be able to hear me. Can you all actually hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Still, I'm quiet. You might just need to turn my voice up in VRChat. So yeah, we'd like to thank the Project community team for giving us this chance to use this stage to showcase what Argus is and what Project Aincrad is in VRChat. Because we get asked a lot of questions when we go to events and people are like, oh, you're the Sword Art Online community, and then we have to explain that. So we'd like to use this time to also explain to some of you guys here what it is we do in the background, what each department does, how we got started and stuff. So enough talking, let's get on to our next slide. So hopefully that's going to update. So in today's talk, we're going to go over how we got started, who our project teams are, the 1.6 trailers, our community events and what we have planned, our thoughts on VRChat as a platform, and then hopefully if we have time we'll do a short Q&A and stuff. And then on the right hand side there are all the departments that we're going to go through and stuff. The Q&A though might not be live streamed, so if you are on Twitch, everyone on Twitch, I'm sorry, you might not get to see that just yet, but come by the booth, join Project community and come by the booth and ask us questions. We're always around. So I know people just want to get straight into the trailers, so I've been told shiny keys, you all want to see that. So let's get straight into one of our trailers. So there's a slight delay and I just need to change.
November 30th is open beta.
November 6th.
So hopefully you can hear me and stuff. Whoa, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. All the trailers that you see live on stage, they will be available within 24 hours on our YouTube channel. So, I wish I could. But yeah, so if you're interested in seeing the trailers, they will be available within 24 hours on the YouTube channel. So, you can see on the screen here, I just want to sort of clarify some of our dates and go over some information because we know the reading age of a VRChat player is 3 years old. So, August the 30th is an open stress test. That is only a limited time. It might be a Thursday. It might only be a limited time stress test. So we're only going to open the world publicly for you to do the open beta test, basically. So we're just going to do a stress test. Then the world will close. The internal team date is September the 30th. So what that means is us as developers, we have to set realistic timelines and deadlines. So we've agreed to September the 30th to have everything tested, played, fixed, and ready. Once we hit that date, we are locked in for the November the 6th release date. So November the 6th is our actual release date, not August the 30th. I don't want any of you running up to me going, it's August the 30th, where's the game? That's a beta test. Our actual release date is there. And yes, it will be out this year. So
Culminating comes out the same week.
I'm sorry, guys. So, how did we get here? How did Argus form as a team? Like, what was the, how did we like get to this point and like have a world? So, hopefully our slide's going to change in a minute, and I will introduce our founder. So, some bright spark had an idea to create an SEO menu, and that man's name was Zeratax. Some of you may in here already know Zeratax by name. For those on Twitch, let me explain a little bit about the thought process behind how we got here. So Zeratax was inspired to create a SEO menu by gestures, by just simply swiping your hand down, doing this motion to activate a menu. He spent like a lot of time perfecting that and getting that menu working to the point where he was so happy he wanted to ask other people to help out on that. Boku D and a couple of the other guys, Live Dimensions and Somnus, soon joined him in that crusade, and together they slowly started to build up the systems that you get to see in the world now. So there is a clip of what the world used to look like there on the screen from when Zeratax was working on it. And we've kind of grown in systems like each day, each week, each month, and each update. So we sort of just went from a simple idea of a swipe menu, and we've kind of just grown to a larger team of over 32 staff members, tirelessly working on each update and stuff. So again, we sort of just started with a simple idea, swipe down menu. The rest of the game should be a piece of cake to make, right? Shouldn't be hard. Once you get that swipe down menu, there shouldn't be much needed. Well, turns out, that's not quite right. So we needed, not just with the swipe menu, we needed a way to save your data, to keep players trapped in our world and keep coming back. So we had our swipe menu. This now works. We can swipe our finger down. We can call in actions. But what do we do to keep you there? So we needed a persistent save system. And at the time, that didn't exist. I know VRChat is now only talking about persistence, but at the time, there was no persistence. So the team was frantically looking around, looking for an idea to solve this. And we came across a lovely person called Nessie, or Nestaboy. And they created the NU save system, which uses avatar parameters. And I'm not qualified to talk about the save system. I'm not a coder. They use a lot of magic to get your save system working on an avatar. So with the swipe menu and Nessie joining the team, we started to get a little bit of a base for like our game now. So we could make Aincrad, we could make SAO in VRChat. We have the swipe menu. We have a save system thanks to Nessie. Nessie also started to help out with the team as well, and the team started to snowball and grow. So now that we actually have these systems, we have a menu that you can interact with. We have a save system for you to save your progress. It's kind of boring, isn't it? Isn't that just boring? Just having a menu and like, okay, you can like save it. What about combat? Right? So I'm going to switch to our next slide now. So you need to give the players something to do in your world. And we invented our own combat system, which is a very complicated system that's now been created by a man called Thiz. Thiz has put a lot of time and effort into our combat system. Now, normally when you hear combat systems, you sort of think, oh, the Warhammer, the Space Marines, people with those avatars that shoot. No. That's really bad. So we decided to make in-world combat systems where you didn't need an avatar because it needed to be intuitive for people joining the world. They needed to just be able to join the world, not change avatars, get their items, and then go out and play. So we have, if you can just see on the screen there, we have a new combat system, which is basically, we use edge alignment. So we use the actual edge of your blade. So people just swinging their hands, you won't do damage. You actually need to know how to use a sword. You need to actually practice with the combat system to actually kill another player. We allowed players to also kill each other. So on the left-hand side there, you can see some people on the bridge doing PvP. But what if you didn't want to do PvP? Exactly, PKing. We also gave people the option to fight mobs. So you can actually come into the world, kill an NPC, get rewarded for that NPC, go to a shop and buy an item. So we have a reward system for doing things in the world. And the combat system, our strengths for our combat system is failing isn't just enough. You actually have to practice with our training dummies. You have to learn how to swing a sword. You actually have to do a lot of timing and skill. It takes actual skill to swing a sword. We also have damage types. Now, damage types do exist. We have different types of damage. We have slashing, blunt. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but we have different styles of damage types depending on the weapons. Slash, blunt and pierce, thank you, community. See, there's a reason you all came to this talk. So, we have different types of damages that also go with different types of weapons. For 1.6, we have over 150 different weapon models and types of weapons that the 3D team hopefully are going to come out and speak about to you all and tell you all of their favorite weapons. Now, for anyone who's wanting to get into being a VRChat developer or a video game developer, there's a few things you need to know before you start making a world. And that is, on our screen, we have our project timeline and VRChat trends. And I just want to talk a little bit for some of you who are maybe I want to make a Project Aincrad world. So we have a project timeline which we set in our team, and we've noticed some certain trends on the platform. So VRChat, it's a very powerful tool. It's an incredible powerful tool, but it's kind of bad. There's things that we have problems with. We have problems with moderation. We've had to develop our own tools for moderation. We have problems with keeping players actually entertained on the game. We've had to come up with mini events and server events to keep people playing. So we tend to do our game development very similar to an actual real-life game studio. We follow very much how a game studio would do things, and we try to mimic that in VRChat. And you can do that 90% of the time. We've also noticed a growing dip in our player base and when players come back. So every time we release an update, we get flooded with thousands of people that come to our world and they're like, oh my god, look at this world. But then about 3 or 4 months later, the community kind of dies. They turn a little bit toxic towards each other. They get bored, and we need to come up with like a new set of shiny keys to show you. And that is what I like to call our traffic light system, which is the top bar there. So I'm going to go over that really quickly for like new developers who are looking to like create VR chat worlds. Something, and this is a big thing that the community are going to be happy to hear about. Something we have learned over the last 2 years working on Project Aincrad is big updates does not always mean better updates. And we're going to go over that a little bit in the talk as well. We've created some tools to help manage our team to create smaller content updates. So you're not waiting 6 months, 7 months, 2 years for an update. You might only need to wait a week. You might only need to wait a month. But for any new VRChat developers, plan small. Focus on one thing that you're going to do for your world and get it done and get it out. We found that we were having, I call it the traffic light system. We have green, red, and orange. We were having green months where our players were happy. They were like, oh, we're getting loads of content, and like the team is developing and we're pushing out really well. Then we were having orange months, which is where the team was kind of burning out, wanting to give up. We were sort of just going to shut down. And then we have red months where we're really struggling. We are like at the point of breaking. So there's 2 things you want to do here. The top line is the ideal like development cycle you want to follow. You want to do small content. I'm not going to say every month is going to be perfect. We've had lots of months in the team where we scream at each other. But, you will get a red month, but you want to try and go into the green months a lot. And then, you're going to occasionally get an orange month. But then at the end, you're going to be able to release your game. What you don't want is that grey bar over there. So that grey bar means your project's died. Your community's dead. No one, does anyone remember, some of the old murder games in VRChat? Murder 2, stuff like that. Or an old game world that doesn't get updated. The chances are that developer has burnt out because they put too much time and effort into it and they didn't manage their expectations and their updates. We've learned that mistake here in VRChat, with the team at Argus. We've learned that we need to go smaller. So we have some tools that we've now designed to do that. Below is also the little stats that I've put for our player base. So we started in 2021, and you can see we every time we do an update, there's a big increase. When we don't do updates, small increases. So plan small for your updates. And then lastly, what I want to talk to you about for video game people who want to get into VRChat and make game worlds is the differences between a video game studio and a VRChat studio, like us. Now, self-law, that is actually me in the photographs at Capcom Studios. That's where I work, or did work. I work at Firesprite at the moment. So that's our team on the left. That's all the tools we use in VRChat to make our game. That's all the tools a general studio would use in real life. There's no difference. I found with working with Boku and Live and stuff, we still have to design an idea. So if you have an idea for a VRChat world, guess what? So did a AAA studio. They had the same idea. They just needed to design it. So did these guys. They have an idea. They still need to design it. There's no difference between that. Your tools, we all use Unity and VRChat's Creator Companion. Guess what? So does a studio. They use the exact same tools as you. There's no difference in the tools. Some studios might use Ice, Breaker. Some studios might use the RE engine or their own in-house tool. Genuinely, though, they Unreal, stuff like that, Godot. But they all start with an idea. So, they have their ideas. They use a tool to prototype that idea, and then they build on that. But us, we use GitHub and file sites to transfer our documents. Studio might use a very expensive, over-the-top file cloud service, but it's still the same. You're still sending files to each other. We use Discord and someone's mum's basement to work out of, which I'm sure is Boku's. They use a brick and mortar building. Same sort of thing. Doesn't matter. If you're in a building, but you're on Discord, you're still working. And in today, most game developers now are starting to work remotely from home. So there's no difference between a VRChat developer and a real game developer. We use Hack and Plan. Some companies I know use Jira, some use Slack, some use their own in-house platforms, some even use Hack and Plan themselves. The tools we use as well to make the content, most of our guys will use Blender, 3ds Max, ZBrush. One of our developers even uses SketchUp. He's a psychopath, but he does use it. They do that in the industry too. Like, they use Blender. I've seen guys in the office use Blender. I've seen guys use ZBrush. I've seen guys use 3ds Max. The same tools you make your 3D models with, your avatars, if any of you are looking to make an avatar, it's exactly the same process. So I was talking to someone yesterday who was saying, you cannot make a video game in VRChat. That's wrong. You can. And we're going to show you that. So our next slide is, obviously you're all bored of me rambling and talking about stuff. So we'll give you another trailer, yeah? Do you all want a second trailer? Yeah? Okay. Shiny keys. It's just taking a sec to come on for some reason.
Oh my god, is that Skibbity Toilet?
You know that one part? Oh, never mind.
There we go, now it's on.
I'd like to take a moment to thank you for making it to the end of the video. I'd also like to give an extra special thank you to all of our Patreons. You make all of this possible. If you want to stay up to date on all of the content and everything that comes to Argus, I would recommend joining the Discord. There's a lot of announcements and sneak peeks that you'll be able to catch. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way you stay up to date on all of the videos. And I'll make sure to see you next time. Take care.
Bro, that way better. August 30th.
Did you all like the gameplay trailer?
September 30th.
It was
So
so
that is actual gameplay. So I could hear a few of you in the crowd saying like, "Oh, it's not going to look like that on Quest." That is exactly what you just saw in the trailer. Is what it will look like on Quest. We have remade the world with better optimization, better models,
you got me.
and better textures. The whole point of our next update is for you questies to have the best playable experience on VRChat. We've heard you, we've understood. Our world right now is laggy. If you go to it today in the 1.5 update, you have 10 FPS. We've been tirelessly working away to make our next update Quest compatible. So you have frames, you have the same textures as what a PC user sort of looks at. So that is there for you guys. So yeah. So you questies, we do love you. Not many in VRChat will love you. I definitely do not love you, but the team loves you. So
No, you love all of us.
now we're going to go on to our development team, and I have a lot of guests for you all. So I brought along the development team of Argus, and each slide we're going to cover like what they do and stuff, and bring them all out. So we're going to start with the design team. So I'd like to welcome Gary and Ren Akami onto the stage. I believe Ren is over here. Ren and Gary, hi.
Hello.
So hello, you two. So Ren is the lead designer for us. He is the head of design team, and Gary is a brand new hire. We've only just hired Gary recently, but Gary has been helping us work on the quest system, which you can see on the right-hand side there. So on the slide, you can see some sort of bullet points that I've put down for you all. And we also have some screenshots and little clips for you all to see how we design the game, what it is we do when we look at SAO, and how do we get that into VRChat. So Gary and Renakami, I'd like to ask you both a few questions. So starting with you, Ren. So Ren, how would you describe your job as a designer?
Our job is fake it until you make it. There is no way to please everyone, so it is important to make compromises as long as the game remains fun for the players.
So, yeah, pretty much. Fake it till you make it, guys. It's VRChat. If you can do that, you just have to basically show people your idea and say, like, hey, this was definitely planned. And then same to yourself, Gary. Like, how would you design? Like, how would you describe your job as a designer?
Since my job is mostly focusing on story design and just general writing, I have to plan a lot in advance for each little bit of story that I want to add. And I'm constantly sifting through a bunch of material from the source material. I'm sifting through the light novels, the manga, the anime, and I'm trying to find inspiration for each story so that it feels as close to Sword Art Online as possible, while still not feeling as bland as Sword Art Online is sometimes.
Right. So design is a very broad topic, and we do like a lot in the design team. So how difficult of a job would you two say design is for this team, especially this community who keep telling me that Kirito has like 9 swords?
He has 7.
So Ren has to use a text-to-speech program, so you just have to give him a sec to load up his answer.
Let me get your phone. Grandma. Weird.
That dude makes me
Hey,
want to
got
jump
me
off the
muted.
building.
This cookie tastes good.
Hey, Ren, are you good?
I was wondering what that was.
No. Well, Gary, how would you describe like how difficult your
Sorry,
job is
TTS
basically?
died for a minute. Just restarted it.
No. Okay. Do you want to like talk about how difficult your job is? What's the most difficult part about the job in working on a fan-made project?
We should have did this all over Discord.
So Ren's
It is not
actually,
more difficult than making any other game, but references being
There
inconsistent doesn't
is.
help getting everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really big issue with design and also writing the story, where certain aspects of the story or designs will be completely different between light novel and manga, and far more different between manga and anime. So we constantly have to come up with our own idea of what makes the most sense for Sword Art Online's visuals and for Sword Art Online systems. So we kind of have to cherry
Okay.
pick which one is the best design and which one makes more sense for the player.
Cool. And then what do you find fun about the design process of our team? What's bit like so Gary,
Brainstorming and planning.
you like the brainstorming and planning, and then Gary, how do you, what's like design part that you absolutely love?
Planning is a big part. I know I'm kind of copying Ren's answer, but brainstorming and planning allows me to kind of like, as a player, because I played for so long, I like looking into the future of what we can do and what we are capable of, and what is the best way to go about these plans, and how the players will interact with them, with like stories or mechanics. Both are really fun to just imagine how a player can interact and kind of entrap themselves in the world of Sword Art Online. Not literally.
Yeah.
Don't have that yet.
Literally. So yeah, we in the design team, we look at the source code, we look at everything and stuff, and we try to double guess our players when they run up to us and go, I watched an episode of Sword Art Online and Kirito did this, and we kind of need to know that before you know that, so that we're equipped with the answers for you guys. But we also
Planning
try
is
to
like
follow...
a game of chess. We need to both guide
Yep.
casual players but also stop tryhards from breaking everything. It's not different from being a dungeon master.
Exactly that. So yeah, we're basically your dungeon masters. That's actually the best way to sum it up. Well, thank you guys. Do you just want to go and take a break, and I'll bring out the next department? So next we have the programming team. Now, for those of you, these guys are like legendary wizards, and anytime I get to speak to these two guys, they just baffle my brain with what they can do. We have monthly meetings in the team. So to give you a little bit of background, once a month I will sit the team down and I will ask them like, what's the progress on what they're doing? And these guys just suddenly appear with, we have made a sword skin. We have made the dungeon boss. We have done this, this, and this. And I'm like, we didn't plan that. How did you guys do this in such a short time? And some of the stuff that they do is incredible. But that's only to do with the main project. What we've also had to do in our team is VRChat is very lackluster when it comes to actual tools. So our programming team has to develop its own tools and editor scripts. Can someone just whitelist Boku a sec? He's just rejoined. And to go over some of our tools and editor scripts, we have Boku D and Live Dimensions, who's going to come on stage. Hello. Hi, Boku.
He disappeared. Oh, he's there.
Yeah.
Hello.
Microphone. There we go. This should be the right microphone.
We can hear you, Boku.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Cool. Hello.
So Sabi was yeeted off the stage, so I guess we'll take over him here for a little bit. So my name is Live Dimensions. I'm one of the co-leads of the programming team. This is Boku.
Hi, I'm Pjkt. I am currently also one of the co-leads of the programming team. Yeah, so
Nice.
in VRChat, working on creating a game like Project Aincrad requires quite a lot of specialized tools. So that is, I guess, what we mainly work on. We write a lot of systems and a lot of things to make our lives easier and to make our workflow inside of VRChat better, and kind of to prove that yes, making a full game like this is actually possible in VRChat as part of that. Do you want to continue? Or?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so-
oh yeah. So the code is from me, so I'm just gonna read it. So I said VRChat game development is a different type of game development. Think outside the box and also think outside Udon Sharp. So if you're a programmer and you're interested in VRChat and you've done things in VRChat, most likely you are already using Udon Sharp. But we have found that it's very important that to also think outside the box and think outside of Udon Sharp. So in our project, in Project Aincrad, we actually do a lot of things outside of Udon Sharp. We try to make a code that runs before we even build. So everything is, you could say it's baked. I know that's usually used for rendering and like baking the lighting, but we bake the references, we set everything up before you join the world so that we do as least code as possible whenever you actually join the world, so it doesn't lag at the start because everything's already set up, everything's already configured, every single reference is already done. So we actually have to develop a bunch of tools to make this workflow, and it's actually part of our pipeline to build a world like this. So over here you can see a list of or actually a small picture of our scene builder. Bogu, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the scene builder is one example of one of these tools that we made to make this process easier. So what it does is it combines multiple scenes from a set preset of basically things that it needs to build and combines them all into one output scene that gets uploaded to VRChat. And this allows us to work on, for example, floor 1, the entire floor as its own thing, and then Town of Beginnings is separate from that, and Solbana is also separate from that. So these are all their own scenes. And then World Seed is another scene that contains basically all of the systems and all of the programming work to make the game work. And using the scene builder, we can all work on those individually and make it simpler to interact with it, do stuff with it. And this whole system is only possible.
What was the benefits between this? What was the benefits about like the scene builder between the two scenes? So like, say we have floor 1 and then we have like Tulbana. Is there a benefit to doing this?
Yes. So what this allows us to do is, for example, bake lighting specifically for Tulbana or specifically for floor 1 on its own, and then combine both of those scenes together in the end. So because our world is so big, it's 1 by 1 kilometer basically. Baking all of the lighting for that using bakery is quite an intensive process, and splitting up the scene like this allows it to be done a lot more efficiently and faster. And it also allows multiple people to work on multiple parts of the world. So if one world designer is working on the Town of Beginnings, another one can be working on Tulbana. We don't get in the way of each other. And this system is only possible because of another
updates for you guys.
Yeah. This whole system is only possible because of another system that Live worked on, which is VRF Assist, which I think Live can explain a little thing about.
You want me to do the next slide? Yeah, next slide.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I started working on Project Aincrad and joined Argus like 2+ years ago, we figured out that we really needed to automate systems and automate references and stuff like that. So I actually started developing a tool that was made for Project Aincrad, and then eventually it turned out to be so useful that I just made it its own package, and you can actually find it for free on my GitHub. Shameless plug, but it is very important for us to have that sort of tool because so we already said that we have different scenes for everything, right? But every scene also has script or it has interactable objects, and it needs to tie into the actual systems that are in our world seed. So world seed is programming, and then every other scene is like the actual world, but the actual world also has script for example, NPCs or quests or the mobs or etc. etc. So to automate all the references between the scenes, once the scene builder has the output scene, my program will actually run through the entire scene and automate all the references that we are needed between objects, and all of that in just a few seconds. So there's actually an image here, the lower one, that says successfully set 8,700 singleton references. So that kind of gives you a sense of how big the project is and how many things there are in there. So imagine just if you set all of those manually, that would be very painful and very time consuming. So it just saves us so much time to be able to, in our code, just name a class with
Speed
the
up
attribute
things.
singleton, and everything works out. There's a lot more things other than singleton, so if you're a programmer, I recommend that you take a look at the tool that I made. It's called VRChat, not because I wanted to promote it, it's for free, but because it's going to save you some time,
A
probably.
lot. Yeah.
It's very
A
useful.
lot of the
And
tools we make are actually free. So like you
Yeah.
make VRF, Boku also does Build Helper. We have a couple of other tools as
That's a
well.
whole different tool again.
Yeah, that's we're not going to go into that.
So-
It's too long to go into, but
Yeah, so
We'll be
on the
here
left
all
you can
week.
see our hierarchy of the output scene. So you can see that it's kind of separated, it's nicely organized, but that's the final output scene, and you can see that the last few bits say scene Tolbana, scene world seed, scene town of beginning. So that's how the scene builder actually works. It puts everything together into one single scene, and everything else is post-processed on top of the final output scene. We also have an example of the other editor tools that we've made. That's the item editor. We have a list of all the items, and we can very easily edit stuff, not having to open prefabs and configure on the script itself. We just have everything on a single browser. And on the right is the build checklist that we have, so that we know that everything is correct before we push a build to either QA or Patreon or the public build.
So I just want to go over this last one for some of you here in the audience. This now means that when we build this, it has a checklist, and we have to make sure that all our bugs and stuff and things and everything in the editor is working. We also have types as well. We have a world lock system, which some of you know about, which is our Patreon system. If you have the Patreon, you can only join the Patreon world. If you don't have Patreon, it tells you to leave, basically, politely. And we have that with this system. But it also basically gives us the ability to now, once QA, when we get to that, does their job, you should see less bugs in the world now. We're now optimizing a lot more. We're now doing a lot more checks and stuff. This tool tells us about that. It tells us is the baking done and such. So guys,
That's part of this whole system as well.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah. Recently we made a new tool actually to make that even faster. So now every time someone presses a button, oh, you're gonna go over it? Okay, cool, yeah.
I'm gonna
it's
go
also
over
integrated
that.
into that because it's built in a modular way.
That's on the QA tab. So what would you two say is the hardest thing about being a programmer in VRChat? For like people who are watching on Twitch and they're like, I want to build a world. So which one of you want to answer that first?
Sure. That's a hard question. I would say all of the different intricacies about VRChat that make it weird are hard, but there's no single specific thing that makes VRChat harder than normal game development. Though I would say maybe some of its limitations, specifically with regards to networking, those are pretty rough. Yeah.
To deal with. Okay, and then yourself, Live, what would you say is like, oh my god, I just don't want to touch VRChat?
I would say that one of the things we've specifically struggled with Project Aincrad is optimization, making sure that things run as fast as possible and gives you frames and it doesn't lag. Because VRChat, if you don't know, if you want to code or program in VRChat, you have to use Udon. We use Udon Sharp, which compiles C# into Udon. It doesn't mean it's running C#, it's just still running Udon. And Udon is, don't quote me on this, but I think it's about 10 times slower than C#. So we have to make sure that every single thing that we write in code is very optimized and it doesn't run all the time, and everything has to be kind of like neatly looked at and very carefully programmed.
Hopefully Udon 2 will come out soon for you guys, and we'll Yeah. I think
great.
Cal
Hope
has
is real.
frozen over by that. But yeah, well, thank you guys for like answering some of the questions and showing off some of the tools and stuff. Again, guys, we do have a booth here at Project Community, so if we don't get your like stuff answered on stage, come by the booth and stuff. So yeah, if you guys want to take a little break and we'll get the next person out. We are slightly running over a lot. I'm looking at the time, and Skits and Bits is on very soon, so I don't want to take up any time because they are amazing and you should definitely check them out. Skits and Bits is awesome. So world design, so gods of the land, and I think this is where you all like this part because this is your world, this is how we design it, this is like, you know, what we do. And to talk about this, we have the amazing Pjkt. So Pjkt, why don't you come on out?
Hello. Here's I am Pjkt. I am
Oh,
the
the
world
Pjkt.
design co-lead, so I do half the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we, for our department structure, we have 2 department leaders for our staff members. So if one of the leaders is not available, all our staff members can go to the other leader if they're having problems and stuff. So Way Better couldn't be here tonight, but we have Pjkt with us and stuff. So Pjkt, world design. How do I place a tree in the world? Like, you know, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, so at least, like anything with anyone here, this is an SAO game, so I usually have to either rewatch the Progressive movie or, God forbid, Season 1, so I normally kind of go through, get
So
like...
painful.
Normally it does start with me wanting to add something, but yeah, I'll go back through and be like, okay, does this exist? Am I just tripping? And then, yeah, making sketches, and then, of course, like, kind of, you can actually see the whole process here. It's just, like, kind of making, like, this little map of where something could go, placing it, and then just refining it and uploading the world.
Yeah. So with world design, because you have a very important part, don't you? It's you who actually optimizes the world and causes the FPS issues. So if he doesn't get the LODs right, stab him. Find a knife in the world and go after this man. So talk about LODs. Like, how important is that, dude? Like, you know, how important is it for you to get this like right?
LODs are probably the best invention ever for any game, because basically, if you don't know how they work, basically the closer you get to an object, the more detail it's allowed to have. So we can take a object, let's say a barrel, and maybe a couple feet away, it's only got 100 polygons, and then once it's really far away, it's just a flat image of a barrel. So it really helps optimize the world and somehow keeps all this stuff runnable on Quest.
Do that, do they? No. Yeah. That's how we're optimizing your world for you. We've learned a lot of the processes with video game development, LODs, occlusion, culling, stuff like that. There's so many VRChat worlds that lack that. Please learn this. It's very, very important. So what would you say is the best thing about your job working at Argus on a project like this?
Oh, everything, dude. I love every single part I get to play, especially in world design, but also now being also to put in my own models into the world. So it's very cool, and I love being involved in every step of the process now. So yeah.
Is there anything that you just want to say before you leave the States that people might want to know to become a world designer and stuff?
Yeah, it's a lot of research. You gotta learn Unity, and you gotta really just kind of learn every little bit about it, all the niche things, occluders, occludees, all forms of static batching, baking, just a billion different things. But once you get a hang of it, it's nice, and it's very relaxing for me.
Awesome. Why don't you go take a break, dude, and we'll bring on the next team. So we might actually, unfortunately, be running a little bit into the time where the stream might cut off and stuff, but we're going to still go and stuff. So we have the 3D team. I would like someone to whitelist Somnus, because I can see Somnus is in the audience. So you don't have to come up, Somnus, but Somnus is the founding team member of 3D, so we have a lot to thank Somnus for. He's also in our design team, and we class him as our lore guru. But he does do a lot of 3D. So Beef it is here, and Mike Phoenix. So Beef and Mike, why don't you come up? Mike might be around somewhere. Hello, Beef.
Hello.
Yeah. So, oh no, Mike's just crashed. No.
It happens.
It's okay. He'll rejoin and stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen there, you can see our process of how we make models. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we have a model that Aiden has been working on. Some of you might recognize that. That's the Abysmal Cleaver. And then on the right-hand side is what it will look like once it goes into game, like the actual final render. Now, I have some things on the screen that I want to talk about, and that is pretty much 90% of VRChat and people's fear about VRChat is, what tools do I use? Should I use 3ds Max or should I use Blender? Well, I was hoping Mike was going to be able to jump on stage. So Mike is working on our amphitheater, which is the picture there, and that is in 3ds Max. Now, Mike has industry standard training. He actually works for some like studios and stuff, and he's actually like using 3ds Max, which is a fairly industry standard tool. On the right hand side though is something that you've all probably seen on YouTube, and it is the belovable 3D cube from Blender. And Beef primarily works in Blender. I know Somnus does, and some of our 3D team. It doesn't matter what tool you use, just as long as you learn a tool and get that skill to make avatars and stuff, or swords. So, Beef, working in the 3D team, what is like the most challenging thing that you as a creator have to deal with?
The most challenging thing I usually have to deal with is the fact that a lot of references from the source material, albeit the novel, the anime, everything, is we're not always going to have a proper depiction on paper that we can see. So whenever we're making something, a lot of it is up to interpretation. Like, before a lot of references for our layout of the world came out, Somnus actually had to read over the novel dozens of times just to get it perfectly to the interpretation we wanted. That's the hardest part, making sure that everything is as close as we can get it.
So Mike is just back. If someone could just whitelist Mike for us a sec so he can get on stage. So that's really hard. Obviously, like we have the progressive movies, we have the SEO video games. A lot of you probably play Integral Factor. A lot of you read light novels. So normally this is where Somnus comes involved for us, and we're so like happy to have him in the team. Unfortunately, my brain is like a smooth brain, so I kind of forget a lot of details. So I always rely on Somnus to like come in clutch and go, "What are you talking about, old man? Kirito didn't use a wooden stick; he used this." And Somnus will beat my ass up with that. And then I can turn around to Beef and go, "Hey, go Beef, I got you your reference." So another thing I want to ask you about, Beef, is polygon limits, and like how do you two, like Mike's now on stage, how do you guys design your models and like work to the limits that we set?
Well, I'll go first and we can let Mike go, but generally I base my limits on shape over structure. I usually, whenever I'm making a model, I want to have a clean silhouette. Say a sword. You want to give the edge density a lot more priority than the inside density. It can be a lot different for other structures and characters, but generally, the higher you go, obviously, the more it's going to struggle. But for characters, you do want to prioritize it a bit more. When it comes to weapons, buildings, and characters, you're going to have to kind of play with it a bit, because at the end of the day, not everyone's going to have a good computer, so it's all up to testing and figuring out what works.
Yeah. And then yourself, Mike, how do you like set? Do you have like a resource limit in your head, and you're like, so this is your amphitheater? Talk me through some of the processes of the amphitheater that you've been working on.
For me, for poly limits, it generally comes down to experience versus what you want to achieve and what you set out. So the more models you make, the more you get a kind of feel for how detailed you need to go. And also a lot of the time is how can you then take that limit, optimize it, be a level of detail down the line. Half the battle for me is you working and thinking one step ahead of what you're actually doing at the time.
And then what is the fun
makes
part
sense.
of like 3D? It does. Yes, you have to like second guess yourself. So what would you two say is the fun part of being a 3D modeler in like, making models?
Personally, I think the texturing stage is quite fun.
Actually, yeah.
Texturing?
I was going to say the same.
Do you both like to texture it, do the UVs and all that stuff?
Yeah, no,
the
genuinely.
references that we get. Yeah, UV and light mapping is very key, so we have to do a lot of light mapping and UV in our stuff. I am just going to go over very quickly a question that we get asked a lot, specifically from a lot of people in VRChat, and that is, why don't we just rip the models from Sony? 1, it's illegal. 2, they're usually bad. And 3, I have these two who are very talented that can make you better models. So, ripping...
What's the fun in that?
And what's the fun? Yeah, so ripping... Well, it's great. 90% of VRChat is full of ripped content. Let's face it, Mario's, Sonic the Hedgehog's, Hatsu Miku. And if you need to use it as a placeholder, cool. Use it as a placeholder, but learn it and find skill to replace those models later and stuff. So, my last question, guys, is it's
a great example. Like I got into the chat, we brought an AK industry agreement for me, make the fun of it all, for everyone to learn it and enjoy it.
Yeah, if we've got Mike actually does like VRChat, plus he doesn't like know sort of online. So if you're thinking about joining an Argus and you're like, oh, I don't really know about online and stuff, Mike just jump on the a guy who I know who's like works in the engineering stuff. So yeah, thanks for that, man. If I want to blend it, don't know, do you guys think I could like become part of the 3D team? That's a good video to watch.
Make something other than a donut. If you can make a really good donut, then you can only make donuts.
Or a flashback.
See, but I really like, right. Okay. So, unfortunately, Trudolf couldn't make it tonight. He's the head of one of the heads of our quality assurance team. So I'm going to briefly go over this slide, and I'm also going to probably call Boku back up on stage to go over this with me when I get to it. But we do a lot of quality assurance in the team. So we have our own internal beta testers or betas. It's very important that you do this to your worlds. Like, there's so many people in VRChat that make a VRChat world. They think they test it and then they shove it out there and then they find there's like lots of problems and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? Test your worlds. Like, sit down and set an hour to test it. And we've started to implement that in the last year. So Trudolf is the head of QA. So our QA sessions happen in Discord. So the picture on the left is our Discord chat. We read all of your bug reports. We do actually read them. We might not answer you, but we do read them, and Trudolf collects them. He then tests them with our internal build, and the middle picture is a tool called Hack and Plan, which we use to manage our team, manage all our tasks and stuff. And then the final tool is a tool that we were going to talk about a little bit earlier. It's an auto builder that we have. So what will happen is once QA have documented, found everything, retested stuff, they will send that to the programming team. The programming team will sit and build an update, and they will push that to our GitHub. Fizz, who's one of our coders, has very kindly, again, outside of VRChat's tools, created an auto build system, which allows us to create updates regularly for you guys. So the tool scans GitHub, checks to see if there's a change, makes a version, pushes it to VRChat systems without us touching it. The QA guys get to see that. They then test that version, and then again we can then push an update directly to the patrons or to the live build. So I'm going to bring Boku back on stage a sec. So if Boku, do you want to come on and go a little bit more in depth about this tool and like how cool it is and how we need this to push out updates faster to VRChat?
Yeah, so this is kind of a more advanced version of a tool that I worked on a long time ago, which is called VR Build Helper, which used to be a tool to kind of improve the VRChat building and uploading workflow. So with the older SDKs, every time you press like build, you had to build, then go into play mode, then click the upload button, then go out of play mode, then switch to quest manually, then build again, go into play mode, click the upload button. That was a pain. So that tool already automated all of that and made it a single click. And what this tool now does is basically automates it even further, so that the moment that there's a GitHub commit, it basically starts a CI process, which is like kind of from other software engineering stuff brought over. And it starts running the build process, uploads it to the QA branch of the world. So the QA team can automatically go through or immediately go through and then
Find
report new
all
bugs.
of the bugs. Yeah, and then we can then use the same tool to get you updates out much faster. No more waiting 6 months or like a month and stuff. With this tool, it's it's rapid development basically. We still have to
improves iteration times a lot.
It improves like the development times a lot. We still have to like obviously develop the update and stuff, but it means we can like supply you now with like more updates, more content once it's been approved by management team. So thanks for that, Boku. I'm just going to go on to the last slide, which is audio team. So it's a touchy subject for us because obviously we do not own the rights to Sword Art Online. We're a fan-made project. So audio is a big thing. It's a big argument in the team about like how do we address this and stuff. So if some of you seen our last YouTube video, we hired 2 new people. One is Kirito, who's going to come out on stage in a second, and the other is Kasumi. So Kirito is hoping to help like implement the official like SEO soundtrack, and we hope to have systems where you can choose between the two. Because of copyright laws, we have to be very careful what we use and stuff. So we've started to develop our own soundtrack in the same style, and the idea is when you're walking around the world and you're listening to the soundtrack that we've toggled on for you, you go, oh, I remember this soundtrack in the anime, and then hopefully there's a developer in the world that can stop you and go, actually, that's Kirito's. So Kirito, why don't you come on out, my guy? Come on out here, dude. Ooh. Hello, Kirito.
Hello, hello.
Hello. We've had this talk before, me and you. So Kirito was in our last YouTube video, so you're kind of new to this. So not used to this. So Kirito, audio, it's a big thing. It's what makes people feel like they're having that epic moment in the world. How do you handle that as an audio designer? Talk us about the process.
Well, I just do what I love, and I usually just do stuff by ear, but I've been working with music for a lot of years, so it's just like drawing a picture with a paper and pen.
Setting the idea down, designing the idea, watching someone beat you over the head with a stool because you got it wrong, going back and redesigning the idea, coming back and saying, oh cool, we got it right this time. So yeah, what would you say is the hardest thing about audio?
It's definitely keeping the motivation to keep going, but or like finishing a song or finishing a sound effect or something. So yeah, it's usually just finishing.
Yeah, getting that like task completed, because again, you might think it sounds great, 20 other people go, God, this is awful. So it's going back and then trying to like get that soundtrack out. And then what is the most interesting thing that you think to like working on a project like this is?
Well, it's definitely having the opportunity to let other people listen or be able to hear what I make and be able to share hopefully share the same love and passion for music and sound effects that I do.
Awesome. So last question, I'll let you take a break. What is your favorite sound effect that you've been working on?
It definitely has to have been the sword skill sound effect that I've made.
Yeah. So nice, awesome. Right, I'll let you go and take a break, and we'll get the next person on. Thanks, Kirito. So audio is a big thing in VRChat worlds. Obviously, you want to feel immersed. You want to like feel powerful. You want to feel like you are Kirito or Asuna or Klein, or a character from the anime and stuff. So we take the audio for our world really seriously. We also take the sound effects really seriously. So we are designing our own sound effects and also trying to like capture that feeling. So we take a lot of time to listen to your feedback. We had a couple of people in the Discord really concerned that like we're going to lose the feeling of the anime. We watch the anime a lot ourselves, and we want to capture that feeling. So where audio is concerned, you can see on the right hand side, we actually have our own custom menus. So we have audio toggles for both sound effects, for the audio and stuff. If you're a live streamer, you can turn off our audio so that you don't get copyright strikes. But again, we hope to have our own custom OST so that you then feel like that OST is an official OST. And that's been the hardest part for us, is getting that feeling down. And then obviously the ambience in the world. So, our very last slide, and it's a shameless plug-in, is our media team, which is myself. Hello. How do we do media in the team? Is it important and stuff? Like, what is the point of having a media team on a development like this? And it's not because it's my job, shamelessly would say, just like, Project Pkt, media is important. It is the most important thing. If you have media guys, look after them, buy them some chicky nuggies, give them head pats. They deserve it. They do a lot of work. They work tirelessly. They work just as tirelessly as the rest of the team and stuff. And a lot of people don't really sort of understand that having like a media team isn't just about making the videos, getting the trailers and stuff like that. It's also about your branding for like your team. So we were originally called Argus. We swapped to ArgusVRC for reasons and stuff. So getting that branding is key. So if you're going to set up a world team for VRChat, settle on your name, sort your branding out, get your media guys to sit down and go, yeah, this is the thing we're going to go with. Get all that at the start. It will make your life so much easier down the road when you have to change themes, update profile pictures and stuff like that. Networking and planning events for your community. That is super important. Guess what? You're at the best networking event on the planet. Project community. There's booths out there. Look to the left of you, guys. Honestly, look to your right. There's a person I bet in this room that you haven't spoken to. That's called networking. Go speak to them. Find out what community they're from. There's thousands of communities here. I was fighting with the Warhammer community trying to kill the Polish army the other day. It was the most funniest crap I've ever seen in VRChat. Like, we were riding around on tanks and stuff. There's a train going around. Like, go to events. Get your team, like, turn up to like events like this, like that, like your project community put on. There's VRChat. Get to community events. Speak to people in VRChat. That's why you play it, right? We all play VRChat because we want to like interact with other people and stuff. So networking and planning events and going to events, very important for a media team. Get your name out there. Content, and even more content. Your media team, you need to like be making that content. Dangle those keys in front of people. Do as much as you can. There's no wrong way to make a video. And there isn't. There's no, like, I've probably made tons of mistakes on this stage tonight. There's no wrong way for you to make a video on YouTube. I can prove that to you right now. Shameless plug-in. I've just released a video on YouTube. I think I'm at 500 views on YouTube. And we have 4,000 subscribers. That video's just gone live. That's going to get 1,000 views. That video is awful. I hate it. It is disgusting. It's really bad. But there's no wrong way to make one because people will watch what you put out. So make something. Don't just have the idea in your head and go, oh, I'm going to make that funny TikTok video and then never do it. Make the content. There really isn't a wrong way for you to do it. And of course, be active. Be active in your media team. Speak with your community. Get them to be involved with you. Listen to them. Let them even be in the videos and stuff. Let people help you. That's one of my points there. So we plan events at Argus. We do seasonal events. So on the right-hand side, you can see our system announcement event that I believe Somnus was the head of, and Nebula Blaze and a few of the team. So we run Halloween, we do Christmas events, we do Easter events and stuff like that. And then on the left-hand side, we hold community events in our newsroom. If you're not doing anything, tell your community to jump on and join you. They'll appreciate it. So media, again, it's the most important thing that you can do for a project. It's also how you speak to your community. Make a 10-second YouTube video saying hey, I'm adding a chair in the world. Someone will watch that and go, there's a chair in the world. Wow. Make something. And last but not least, if that slide actually changes, we'd like to thank all of our community who've been with us. We'd like to thank Project Pjkt for giving us this opportunity to use the stage to show you all who we are and stuff. And we'd also like to thank our active player members and all of the guilds who've been along with us. I think we've been going for 3 years now. So thank you, all of you. If your guild logo isn't on there, I'm sorry. I was running around like headless chicken trying to add them. But be involved with your community and try to get involved with other communities. So thank you, guys. I'd just like to get the whole team back on stage, but before we end, would any of you like to see a last trailer? You have 2 trailers, so trailer number 1 and trailer number 2. Which one do you just want to shout? Shout out number 2 or number 1. So which trailers would you want? I'm seeing 2. The first trailer, number 1. A lot of number 1s.
Number 1.
2. A lot of... Okay.
Number 2.
I can
Number
barely
1, you
hear
like that one?
people in the crowd even.
Number 1's coming on for you now, everyone. And then the team will come on and say thank you to all.
What I do?
Don't think I got time to recalibrate.
Thank you, everyone. So I'd like to get the Argus team to come out and then also bring out Wolfie Weeps to give them a huge round of applause, and the Project community team as well. So can the Argus team come out? Hello. Some of them are rejoining. I think Beef is rejoining and stuff. So Wolfie, on behalf of the Argus staff, we'd just like to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be a part of your community event. It has been a crazy week, a really crazy week. So thank you so much.
No, they weren't. The top ones were, but all of the bottom ones were.
there were just a few that wasn't translucent.
We were in Aincrad the other day and freaking looks at me. He's like, yo, dude,
So yeah, we might do a little Q&A, but we have gone over by like 20 minutes, and Skits and Bits really need the stage. So we'll probably stay here, and then Wolfie's team is going to leave and stuff. Just before we end, for any of you who don't know about us, we have a Discord. It's discord.gg/ArgusVRC. We have Patreon, Ko-Fi, TikTok, YouTube, and stuff. Yeah. No. Poor Wolfie. So yeah. So please feel free to come by. The booth, we have it here in Project Community, but it is missing some features. VRChat starts next week. VRChat Summer, and we will be at VRChat Summer with some more trailers, and the team will also be around to answer questions. So if we don't get your questions answered here, come to VRChat Live in about a week. So yeah. So thank you, everyone. So we're gonna open up to Q&A now. So if you could all like sort of form a line at the start of the stage, if you have questions for the team, we'll try and like go through that.
Yeah. You got any questions?
I'm gonna throw that trailer on.
You won't. No balls. This is really cool, bro. I'm really excited.
I'm just gonna mute the trailer while like yous are all doing questions. Hello, Mortex.
Of Aincrad.
Yeah, they did.
Hey, Doki, you want to go to Aincrad?
Oh, wait. Oh, there.
I hope he thinks we're weird. I hope he thinks we're weird. Literally.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Everyone
we can
hears
hear
me.
you
All right.
now. Hello, Mortex. Hello.
Hello, Savvy. So I was wondering, so even if players are banned, will they be able to play 1.6?
Yes.
I'm
so
asking for a friend.
VRChat does not allow. Yep. So there you go. Thank you, Wolfie. So VRChat TOS does not allow us to moderate our instances and ban you from the world. You're talking about a blacklist. So we don't have moderation perms, unfortunately, to do that. We have an admin panel and we have an active staff members. If they're in the world and they see people, they can moderate the instances and stuff, but you will be able to play 1.6. We also have an unbanning process. If you have a friend who would like to get you unbanned and stuff, we have a support ticket, and provided like they can provide the evidence for you, we can unban you as well. So we do allow unbanning processes stuff.
Sweet. That sounds good.
Depending on what, like, the crime.